What's up, good people? We are back. We are back for day 3. Let me know if you can hear me. Oh, I just noticed my whole mic ain't even together. Let me know if you can hear me by putting justice for Andre in the chat or guilty. Justice for Andre or guilty in the chat. I should have had a little music going or something. What we got? There we go. Guilty. All right. So I'm just give a disclaimer. As I said before, the other nights, for those of you who have been here before, and if you have and you're returning, I greatly appreciate you. Trying to figure out this StreamYard thing. And I got moderators in the background who have gracefully volunteered to help me with the comments, and then we can't get it working. Or I can't get it working. I don't know what's happening. So I'm going to definitely try to figure that out over, the next few days, etc. So I just wanted to give I had a couple notes prior to us getting into the nitty gritty of this all that I wanted to give. We got 700 in the chat, and pass the message on. For those who come in a little later and miss it, but I will not have, unfortunately, I will not be able to, I should say, have a day 4 live on day 4. I will have to do the day 4 live. So meaning I will not have a live tomorrow evening, which is Friday. I will have to have it on Saturday morning. So I'm thinking I'm going to do 10 a.m., but I will schedule it. You will see it. I'll put out notifications in the VIP text community. So if you're already a part of that, you will get that message. If you are not a part of the VIP community, this would be a great time to join so that you can also get those sort of updates. So, and the reason is because I'm traveling tomorrow. For those of you who might want to think I'm lazy or something, I got to travel back home tomorrow. So I got to check out first thing in the morning. And then, of course, we got court all day. And then I will be traveling back home. Let's see. Also, just a disclaimer for these type of videos. So I'm doing these live updates like the day of, with the exception of tomorrow. I'm doing the live updates so that so I can kind of get the information out while it's fresh on my mind as well. So I can look at pages, y'all can't see this, but pages of notes and be able to kind of recall what was occurring. But with that, this isn't really an overview, as juicy as it sounds to some people. This is truly an overview. When I watched the live from yesterday that I did, I was like, I forgot so much. Like, oh, I skipped over that whole part. I forgot about this. But also, I can't fit it all in as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have pre-recorded videos that are going to basically revisit these topics, but break them down into segments, maybe per testimony. I'll figure that part out. But that will get into the nitty gritty of my detailed notes. And also you will see evidence that I'm able to show. So I'll have that all in those videos. So when I start putting those videos out, which will be after the trial, because I got to be able to edit, and doing these lives, I can't do all of that. But when they come out and you see those pop up, don't think like, oh, I already know all that. I heard that before. Trust me, it's going to be some stuff you don't know, because it's a ton. I'm like halfway through my notebook already. So by the time, definitely by next week, I'm going to be into a new notebook. So, and just a disclaimer, someone put in the comments, and don't talk about you tired and you sleepy and all of that. So I'm doing it anyway. I successfully got 4 hours of sleep last night, but my normal is somewhere between 5 and 6 hours, so it wasn't way off. But I just couldn't sleep. I woke up at 5:30 and I couldn't go back to sleep. So I am feeling it in this moment. So I'm, gonna do my best. Please show some level of grace for those of you who care about other humans. Those of you who don't, I understand. Do you? I want to recognize a couple. Good. I was able to get it to thank you, Smoky Cat Kathy, for your super chat. I greatly appreciate that. Every penny really does go far and help me, with everything that I have to do to be able to pull this off for all of you. What I mentioned also in the VIP text community, which you see that number scrolling across your screen at this moment, I mentioned to them once we ended for the day that I actually had a special message from the family, from the Montgomery family. And I had a conversation. I won't share who. I just decided I won't share the particular person. It's not Monique, because people gonna think, oh, he talking about Monique because he was talking about her yesterday. It ain't Monique. But anyway, I had a conversation with one of the Montgomery family members who you have seen on TV, and what they wanted to clarify, some stuff that I said as far as what's happening with the division of the family and the fact that they're sitting on separate sides of the court. And one family, I explained yesterday how the Montgomerys leave out of the courtroom and the Griggs stay behind, and they wait until the Montgomerys have pretty much cleared the halls before they come out. So what I did notice that I think I'd never mentioned so far is that the Griggs family actually has a court chaperone. So there's a lady with them from the moment they are in the building throughout. She walks them in, she sits with them, and then I think they sequester them in a different part of the building somewhere. I think they have like some space. I don't know too many details on that piece of it. But what was explained to me is that separation does not depict real life for that family, for the Griggs and the Montgomerys. They are still, in fact, a close family. They do still, in fact, communicate. And this person not only told me that, but literally they were really trying to prove it to me, because they were like, come, like, I'm going to show you, like, now that everybody's gone, they're about to come out the courtroom. Like, she was like, we hug, we talk, she was like, they're coming out there, they go right there. And she's like, come with me. But they were in a conversation. I was like, we good, because we talked a minute. And after that, I was like, you don't have to prove it to me. But they did show me phone calls from Michelle Griggs to that person. So they are in communication. They are a family. The way that it was explained is that it's like many of us might be in if we were put in this situation by one of our crazy relatives. We, again, most of us can identify we got a crazy relative or two or three or five. And so these people do things that we have no control over. And basically the family is like, we love each other, we didn't have anything to do with it, and we wondering why this person would do it, but we know they a little off, and we didn't know they was that off, kind of thing. That's what was communicated to me in words, really, to be honest. So I wanted to share that. And then also, and I asked them when we had this conversation, as they kept talking, I was like, I really would like to be able to say these things. I want people to start having more compassion for the family that we fell in love with over seven years with the Welcome to Sweetie Pies series. And I know it's TV. I'm not crazy now. Don't people want to? I had somebody call me delusional in my comment section, and y'all gonna learn. I might seem sweet and funny and all of that on this channel, but yeah, don't play with me like that. But thank you, Brenda Burns, for your 1999 super chat. I really greatly appreciate you for that. Hey, Chef Fine as Wine. So, but anyway, the other thing that was told to me is that the family had a prayer yesterday at Miss Robbie's house. Miss Robbie called for a family prayer. Now, the family prayer was the Sweetie Pies people and like extended cousins. And there was someone who stood in for Tim, like in this family prayer, like basically standing in the gap. And then there was someone who stood in the gap for those of you who understand what all this means. Some people are like, what that mean? Y'all know what that mean. If you know what it mean, you know what it mean, and that's good. If you don't worry about it. We'll get past this. But they were standing in the gap for Tim and Miss Michelle Griggs, and so basically, long story short, the family is actually more intact than it may appear to us as the public, which is why I have reserved a lot of dragging that I see, and that dragging does really affect these people. They told me things that people have said. Monique told me stuff people have said to her, like social media stuff that people have said, and so did the person who I spoke to today. So y'all, come on now. let's treat people with grace and kindness. So anyway, I think I'm off my soapbox for now with that. I ain't done. I'll be back with more. But I think I'm off my soapbox with that. I'm hoping I'm not missing too many of the comments. I'm gonna be honest, this live, because of like my notes are very, very, very long and detailed. This was a very eventful day. We heard testimony from Travell and Terica, along with, I got the count in my notes, but I think we had like 8 witnesses. Like it was a total of 8, so it was an additional 6 people. So yeah, I'm not going to necessarily be able to operate with the comments as much. I will try to recognize the super chats as I notice them. And there's one from ADM23. Thank you for the super chat. So I will try to recognize the super chats because I'm grateful because you're doing the extra layer of support, and I really appreciate that. So let's get into it. So I hope I ain't forgetting that. I think I got all my housekeeping notes out of the way. Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, I think I did. Okay, so let's get into it. Day 3. So today was day 3 of the trial. It was supposed to start. When was court supposed to start? 8:45 a.m. We were supposed to start this morning's court hearing. We actually started a lot later than that. And to be honest, I couldn't tell you the exact time we got started because I was in the courtroom today with everybody. I didn't go to the media area. So in the courtroom, for those of you who might be new to watching these streams, I'll be repetitive with some of this information, but none of us can bring or use, I should say, our electronic devices, your cell phone, laptops, none of that stuff. And you can't even have it powered up. So that meant that I could not glance at my phone to see what time it was. And I didn't have a watch on today. So I basically sat there like, this feels like this is long. But if I had to guesstimate, I think we started somewhere around 30 minutes late. And that was due to us waiting for Tim to arrive. Tim was being transported from where he's at, and I forgot whether they did say it, and I forgot where he's at, and I didn't write it down. But there was a lot of traffic, I think due to children returning to school, they were saying, and also there was a car accident on his route. So that made him, late. So we just sat there and pretty much, people were talking and all of that. And so today was a lot more, it was a little slower in the morning. I mean, it was full, but towards the afternoon session, it kind of got crowded at a certain point. So if any of you were ever, thinking about coming, I think by the time we get closer, it looks like the more we get days further into it, there's like more interest of people showing up. You may end up in the overflow if you decide to join. So just the FYI, which puts you in a separate courtroom on a different floor, and you're basically looking at the courtroom from Zoom, but all you're seeing is the judge, the witness, and part of the attorney's faces when they're at the podium, if they decide to stand at the podium completely. And Tim's attorney is a wanderer, meaning wandering around. He's like he's like a motivational speaker kind of thing, and the judge has to remind him every once in a while to like come back over to the mic so that he can clearly be heard by everyone. So as far as attendees, I'm going through the same because I know what y'all care about. I get these questions. I'm like, I gotta make sure I mention that. Oh, let me take a note on that. So when I'm in court, I'm like, oh, what they got on? What the hell look like? Let me write this down so I don't forget. So anyway, as far as attendees today, people meaning people we know, we had Michelle Griggs, of course. Mama Griggs, I decided to call her, which is I think Michelle's mom. I'm pretty sure that's Michelle's grandmother, rather. We got Big Brother Griggs. Oh, I learned his name today. Some of you may have known, but Andre's brother's name is Darren. And so Darren was there, his little sis. And come to find out, so he had his two sisters were there rather. There was an aunt there and a cousin. So it was I have a total of 9 of them. And I mentioned yesterday that they had moved over to the other side of the courtroom. So what I also noticed was not that they were only, in my mind, yesterday, before hearing everything I know now, moving away from Tim, but also where they move now, you can actually see the television monitors. It's 2 television monitors that they have for the jury, and one is on the floor, and they're about, they might be 50-inch screens, I think. And so one is on the floor and one is on one of those rolling cart kind of things, like a pedestal mount kind of thing. So when you sit on that section, and that's where I also sit, and I'm in the back row in the media area, we can see the screen. So we can see what the jury is seeing. So when evidence is put up, we can actually see it for the jury. We can see it as well. Whereas everyone else in the courtroom doesn't have a perspective to be able to see that. They don't have a monitor for the public to see that. So if you're not sitting in that particular area, you're hearing them talk about it, but you're not really seeing it at all. So then we have, from the Montgomery side, there were 6 of them. And for those of you who are thinking ahead to the conversation I had in the very beginning, you're probably going to use your thinking cap and then try to put together who I was just talking about. But we have Monique and her daughter actually came later. I think it was after the morning break, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe even after lunch. I can't remember, but it was later that they came, but they didn't stay long. They were kind of there middle of the day, and I want to say they were there maybe 2 hours or something, and I didn't notice when they left, but all of a sudden they weren't there. We have Aunt Linda was there, and there were 5 friends. Mr. Bussey was there once again. And what I didn't mention yesterday, I think was the first time I mentioned him. Mr. Bussey still looks the same. He's one of those black don't crack. He still looks the same. And you know, that was, I don't know, what, 12 years ago or something like that. So, but yeah, Mr. Bussey was there. And there was a lady there that the longer I started noticing her, the more I started noticing her, I started saying, I think she might be, remember on the series, for those of you who watched the Welcome to Sweetie Pie series, there was an admin that they would show from time to time. I think the lady kind of handled the business manager, I think was what they were calling her. And every once in a while, she would be in an episode here or there, but like a quick little conversation with Miss Robbie or Tim or something like that. So I think that this is that same lady. I could be wrong, but because she seemed familiar, and the more I started thinking, I was like, I think that might be her. So anyway, that's just a little random tidbit. So I talked about them being late. So today, when Tim came in the courtroom, and this is very detailed, so once I get into some of the less interesting things, I'm gonna kind of gloss over it. So I am being very detailed now. Everything I'm saying will not be as detailed. Come back for my pre-recorded videos for that. So anyway, Tim, when he came in, he had 2 new federal. Thank you. Right. Where are my glasses? Yeah. Thank you for that. And I did mean to grab them. I don't know where they at. But what was I saying? Oh, the 2 new he had 2 new marshals. So there was a white male who was standing next to him, basically sitting next to him and standing next to him. And that dude was very much so gave you Secret Service, President Secret Service. He gave you those vibes, like his very stoic face. It looked like he ain't have emotions, which that's what they're supposed to do, I guess. So, so yeah, he looked just very stoic. I saw nothing. And whereas Tim's other marshal from the Monday and Tuesday, the lady I spoke of, she appeared, like I told you guys, they seemed more social. She was conversing with him, et cetera, et cetera. They seemed more chummy. This guy, not at all. This guy really gave you what you would expect. Like, he's a prisoner, he is a criminal, so let's treat him like one. So anyway, also what I was, happy to see, the second marshal, and he was walking around a lot before everyone got up to the courtroom, before kind of really things got rolling. And so I was noticing him in the hallway, but I didn't know who he was. But I was like, I think he's somebody. Turns out this guy was the other U.S. Marshal. And this is a black guy, young, probably in his 30s, late 30s, mid 30s, something like that. But black guy. This guy was actually, he was handling Tim, but he sat very far away. I don't know. They sit like closer to the judge or the clerk. It's so far away that you almost think that they have nothing to do with what Tim has going on. So that's why I missed the guy I mentioned on yesterday. So anyway, yeah, it was nothing, eventful about that. But, I'm trying to give you guys a picture so you guys can imagine what's happening here. So, skip over that. We'll come back to that. Let's see. Yep, talked about that. Okay, so I do need my glasses, and it's dark in here. Let's see. I talked about that. So we now have started court. Thank you. I forgot to mention, I put it up. Thank you, Rachel. Really appreciate your super chat greatly. So Judge Ross, when he got started, he explained, he's the one who told us basically the detail, what exactly happened with Tim, with the delay period of them getting started with court. Because as I mentioned before, Judge Ross is on it. He's like, we need to get this done. We already know what the verdict is. He's like, let's get this moving. So I could tell he was a little, it is almost like he felt guilty about us starting late. Like, I don't mean to disrespect y'all time kind of thing. Was the fact that he even felt he needed to kind of explain it to us showed to me that, he really does care about, making this happen. So in a timely fashion. So, so then they confirmed that Terica Ellis, we all know her, was going to be the first witness of the day. Then the government said, no, I'm sorry. Judge Ross was trying to confirm that Terica was, as per their schedule, the first witness of the day. The government, Attorney Carroll stands up and then says, no, Your Honor, actually, there's Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan is the first witness of the day. Thank you for the super chat. And so the judge seemed pissed because, again, he's on. I think he's a little OCD in a way. Like, let's get this done, and I like order and all of that. And so he was kind of like, "What are y'all doing?" kind of thing. But anyway, they worked it out, got the confusion straightened out, and so the first witness wasn't Terica. It ended up being what's his name? Sullivan, Mr. Sullivan. David Sullivan. It ended up being David Sullivan, who was is the vice president of claims at Forrester Insurance, which is the insurance company that we now know is the one that actually granted Tim an insurance policy, a life insurance policy on Andre. And so the vice president, he does a few things, but I just wrote down what was important to me and you. So they said that he basically oversees the team that pays out the claim. So the people who, when we, submit a claim, if you've ever done that before, this group are the people who kind of ask us for the documents and then process the claim and, pay out if needed, or in this case, no, or say no. And so they talked about that. They ended up playing the call between. So I'll summarize this. So what they were talking about basically was how Tim and Yael applied for the fraudulent claim and life insurance rather. And they talked about how the process is and how when Tim couldn't get it, how he then hired an attorney who then kind of came in hot, not kind of, she came in real hot with them threatening to sue the life insurance company right away, like you owe my client money sort of thing. And so they talked about all of those pieces of it. They actually, I'm telling y'all, this stuff be good. They literally played the tapes, the tape recordings from Forrester, like they record their calls. Like we call these places and they said this call may be monitored, blah, 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 for quality assurance and all of that. That call was those calls were monitored. And so they were able to play us Tim calling in with the initial claim. We heard his voice. They were requesting things. He didn't even know Andre's birthday. Like he didn't even know basic things, which is crazy. Like this is your nephew who was 20 or 21, I think, when you took his life or had his life taken. And he didn't know Andre's birthday. And so he couldn't answer the questions, didn't have all the information. So basically it was like, I'll call back kind of thing. Like, I'll get my agent to help me. We'll call back kind of thing. So then they submit the documents. There's a bunch of issues with that. Again, my pre-recorded videos, we get into the nitty gritty of those things. Yael ended up, reaching out, trying to get the insurance policy. They got denied basically. And then that's when Tim had his attorney reach out. Now, what Tim told his attorney, and we saw those texts. I haven't done a video on those text messages, but those text messages have been put out by other YouTubers. And so it's the text message exchange. And I will do a video on it because now I can really explain it, because not only did we have the text messages, but they explained the context of what was happening within the text message, but also within the situation to cause those messages to be what they were. So, so what Tim was telling his attorney that he ended up hiring, which seemed more like a buddy, like it was a female, but I kind of got the vibes that she was maybe, Tim knew a lot of people. It just seemed like there's somebody he knew, because he was asking, I think, if she could deal with that, like if she knew how to deal with insurance companies kind of thing. She's like, oh yeah, this, it's contract law. Yeah, I handle that kind of thing. So he told her one of the reasons why it was years later by the time he had her even looking into it, because it was about to hit the 4-year mark, which she said would have been the statute of limitation for Tim being able to try to still get this insurance policy. So with that, I'm sorry, y'all, my brain is I'm tired. So I'm fighting through a little bit. But what Tim told her in the text, well, Tim told her, I cannot remember if it was in a text or a conversation or what, but he ended up telling her that it had to be the text message. He ended up telling her that at the time when he got denied, he wasn't as concerned because money wasn't an issue. Quote, money wasn't an issue back then. So now you're admitting that you're now trying to dig up, like, where can I find money? Where can I find money? Oh yeah, that's right. I killed my nephew or had him killed, and I got that money still that I haven't gotten yet. It was like one of those kind of things. So like by happenstance, like, oh yeah, I got money over there. So anyway, they tried to do that. They tried to bamboozle the Forresters. Forresters was on it. Well, with the exception of they approved the application in the first place, which it shouldn't never got approved. But they were on it. And when it was time to pay the claim out is when they started catching all of the red flags. And I'll break that down in the video because it's a lot. I mean, everything from the inconsistencies and the information about Andre, everything from birthday to age to, height, weight. They even asked, where was the policy, done. I'm hoping that Tim's attorney talks about that, because they keep kind of throwing out, Tim's side keeps throwing out a scenario as if Andre went to Tim's apartment. So supposedly Andre, Tim, and Yael were in Tim's apartment, and they completed the life insurance policy together. So they're claiming that Andre was a part of it. But what I haven't seen yet is a testimony regarding that, or evidence that's supposed to prove that. So we'll see what happens with that. So I'm gonna just put the rest of this in the pre-recorded video. So moving on, this was this is meaty right here. We get to the second witness. The second witness is called, and that is Terica Ellis. And Terica, because I'm gonna tell y'all what y'all want to know real quick though. I want to thank my super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. Really greatly appreciate you. So Terica came into the courtroom. So we had went on morning break after this first, after Sullivan. We went on morning break. When we came back from morning break, they eventually brought in Terica Ellis. She was, now I'm trying to remember. She was shackled, like at her feet. She was shackled. I can't remember if she had on handcuffs. Forgive me. I can't remember now. But she came in and they took her directly to the witness stand. And the witness stand is literally like, y'all can't see me doing these my hands with this thing in my hand. But anyway, it's like the witness stand is right next to the door that they take the inmates in and out of. Like it's probably maybe 12 feet distance from the two. So they brought her in the courtroom through that door, had her go up. It's a ramp to get up there. They don't have stairs. So they have a ramp to get up to the witness stand. She walked up the ramp. She sat there. And I was like, that was the walk of shame. It was truly the walk of shame, because when she came in, it wasn't like court was in session. So like we get into the business of it all. She had to come in while we were being social, while people are just mingling, standing up, talking to each other. We're on break. Now she just sitting there looking crazy because she just sitting there. And so of course I'm staring, because at that point I wasn't talking about it. It's kind of like people was trying to talk to me a little bit. I was like, I'm trying to get notes because they waiting on me tonight. So I took good notes. So Terica's appearance, she came in a green and white horizontal jail uniform, or whatever they call it, jail uniform. And they were like big, huge, like, green and green and white stripes going horizontally across all the way down her legs and everything. So, and under that, she had on, it appeared to be a white, did I say white here? Long sleeve t-shirt. Yeah, it was either white or dingy. No, I said white. So she had on a long sleeve white t-shirt, almost like a long john shirt, for those of you who are familiar with that. Under it, her hair was black, and it was about the length of a bob, like I guess slightly below her ears, not like full neck length. So it was, it honestly looked chopped off. It didn't look like, it wasn't stylish, y'all. It wasn't like what you ladies are doing when you going tomorrow or Saturday to get your hair done. It wasn't nothing like that. It literally looked like, Miss Bubba in the cell next to her cut her hair. So, and I'm only laughing because she deserves it. So, oh, and it was slick back. It was slick back, but loose, not like gelled up completely. It almost looked from afar like a wet look, or like she had put mousse in her hair or something. It wasn't like the wet, wavy look. It was just pulled back and wet look. It looked like she just jumped out the shower and came. So, and she might have. She is in jail. She might have. So, what else did I have? So, so while she was sitting there, so that's how she looked. Thank you for the super chat, Mika Terry. So while she was sitting there, again, court hasn't started yet, so I'm staring at her. She, at first, you could tell, she's feeling awkward. You could see it. And so what she was doing was trying not to make eye contact. She wasn't really looking in the audience, looking at any of us. She just kind of kept her eyesight in her immediate area, within like maybe a 2-foot radius of where she was, kind of looking around. And eventually I noticed she started crying. Now, no one has said anything to her. No one has done anything to her. I guess it hit her. It was real. She up in there. She in there now. And she ended up, she started crying, and there's tissue she had in her hand. and she was wiping her tears. Now, it wasn't like an audible wailing or anything like that. If you weren't looking at her, you wouldn't have noticed that she was over there crying. So let's see. Give me a second, because I need to actually read with my chicken scratch to figure out what I have here, because I don't want to forget anything major to update y'all all. But there'll be a pre-recorded video. I'm plugging. Yes, I am. I'm plugging my next video. So let me see. No break. Crying. Okay, Terica is 38 years old, and she's pled guilty, which most of us know, but she has not been sentenced yet. If I'm not mistaken, and y'all correct me in the chat, I think her sentencing date is September 20th. I feel like somebody is, or multiple people have that date, and that's just off the top of my head. So I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Don't quote me on that. But somebody put when their sentencing dates are. And okay, so she was okay. So now she's testifying. Now the government she's been sworn in. She stands up, gets sworn in. Now Attorney Carroll was talking to her, and she was basically asking. She's the one who asked her, what's your age, your name, that sort of stuff. She asked her, where did she live prior to being incarcerated? She said she lived in Memphis her entire life, but she lived also in St. Louis for a short time. She didn't give like the actual time frame, so I just put a short time. She was then asked about her relationship with Tim. This is when it's getting juicy now. She was asked about her relationship with Tim, and she described their relationship as friends with benefits. No surprise to any of us, but it's good to know that she knew what it was. I know that people have talked about, oh, she thought he was her boyfriend, and they were in a relationship and all this. She said that they were just friends with benefits. They had known each other a while. That's been the nature of their relationship. So they talk to communicate outside of just having sex, but they really are just friends with benefits. So she said she had known Tim since 2011. Most of us knew this. She met him at the Bottoms Up strip club right outside of St. Louis. And what am I saying? Oh, she said they ended up eventually exchanging numbers. So they met in the strip club. She was one of the dancers. He pouring money on her. However, that's not where they really connected at. They ended up running into each other at a ring. She said, this is what, quote, Terica said, at a wing restaurant. She didn't get a name, so I don't know if it was just a Greasy Spoon place. It wasn't Sweetie Pies, I don't think. I know it wasn't, because she said a wing place. So they met at by happenstance. They bumped into each other at a wing restaurant, and that's where it was like, hey, you the stripper. I don't think that's what he said. But anyway, they then exchanged numbers at that point. So she was also asked about her career and she talked about that she worked at the Bottoms Up. Well, she called herself an exotic dancer. And then they went into the fact that one of the places that she worked was the Bottoms Up strip club. Now, Bottoms Up was one of her gigs. So she actually traveled across the country stripping, wherever they had $1 for. And so she would typically work at Bottoms Up on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. This part, remember that, because I'm going to get to that in a different part of this, because that becomes a little interesting too. So she ended up meeting Andre also at the Bottoms Up Club. Again, most of us knew that. And okay, so she talks about how she basically really connected with Andre. And so she says that, hold on, I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, I have some private chat messages because the ladies are still trying to help me as much as they can in the background. So I'm gonna come back over to those in a minute. I'm hoping it's nothing too big. But anyway, so she said when she met Andre, she met him at the strip club. We've already heard that. He was, making it rain on her. And he asked her while she was dancing for him if they could meet up outside of the club. And you know what that means. So she ended up agreeing, and then they ended up exchanging text they ended up exchanging numbers. So that's how they got connected. Dre saw her at the strip club, enjoyed what he saw, and he was like, I need to experience that outside this club. And so that's how they got connected. So I'm going to skip over this part. This is another interesting fact. So she says she danced at the Bottoms Up typically from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. I'm like, what? 6 a.m. Could you imagine? At 4:35 a.m. you're still twirling around a pole. But that was her job. So then they talk about, wait, let me see. Give me a second, y'all. Bear with me. Okay, so yes, now we're moving on to Terica connecting with Tim. So this is a story that you guys, those of you who really follow this, have heard multiple times, but y'all ain't heard it like this. So we finally get to hear the details that were not written from Terica herself. Oh, what I didn't really elaborate on, I may have had it in my notes after this, but Terica, some of you have seen like the social media clips of her. She has like this little baby voice. And you can tell the way that she speaks that, she is not educated. Thank you so much for the super chat, Angela Anderson. And it was like there were certain questions that she was being asked that you could tell she didn't quite understand how to answer it. It seemed like her comprehension was decent, but she didn't know how to articulate herself. So yeah, I noticed that. Also, what I noticed, and I'm not a colorist, before somebody try to get me together. Thank you. I do need my glasses. I'm not a colorist, but she was she was light-skinned. She's light-skinned. So she was a lot lighter than I thought from all of the pictures that we've seen. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that in. Mainly the fact of her demeanor, like the way she answers the question is very, it was me and Tim, and he had texted me. Like it's that. That's so that was a little hard to listen to at times, but it was so juicy. I powered through it. Thank you so much for the super chat, Pamela. Okay, so we get to Terica said that she had worked at the Bottoms Up Club. She did her regular schedule. So remember, she's at the Bottoms Up Club. I don't know why this tongue giving me a tongue twister right now. But she worked at the Bottoms Up Club on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. So she had worked her shift. She had went to wherever she was staying. She went wherever she was staying. She took a nap. And when she woke up, she had a text message from Tim. And at one point, they had exchanged the email. But I'll get into that in the video. Because what originally happened was Tim ended up emailing her because he didn't have her, she kept changing numbers or something. He didn't have her most recent number. So he's like, hey, you keep changing numbers. What's your number? So she gave him her number in the email. Tim then texted her when she woke up from her nap after, twirling around the pole till 6 a.m. And so during that time, is when Tim was like, where you at? Blah, blah, blah. She's like, I'm in St. Louis, getting ready to head back home to Memphis. He says, oh, I'm in St. Louis too, basically. And we saw those text messages are out there. So I'm not doing it verbatim. I'm doing off the top of my head. I'm kind of giving an overview. But thank you so much, C-Mac. He was like, basically come through. Like, don't go home now. Come through here. Meet me at the Chase, meaning the Chase Plaza Hotel. So she knew exactly what that meant. He said, meet me at the Chase. She was asked, what does the Chase mean? Or meet me at Chase. What does Chase mean? And she said, it was the Hotel Chase Plaza. So I think she was asked something that made her reply that she knew exactly where and what it was because of the fact that Tim usually stayed there. Like he stayed there quite a bit. So this was not her first time going to meet him at the Chase Plaza. So this was like a routine for them. So, and this is going to show you how she got pulled into this. That part is very interesting. It got really laid out more clearly. So what she ended up doing was, versus getting ready to go home, packing up and, all of that, she got cleaned up to go see Tim. So she ended up arriving to Tim. Tim hit her up somewhere around 10 something. And thank you for the super chat. And she ended up getting there around 11 a.m. Tim ended up having to come down. I'm not sure like what was up with the hotel, but basically their communication was one in which she couldn't just come up on her own, and she said there was no one down there, so she couldn't get up. So Tim had to come down the elevator to be able to have her come up. She said that when she came up, once they got to the room, she said they got right to it, like no delay, draws dropping. And so she was asked, this is, I had to put this in, I put this in a VIP text community today, as you know, I get them tips when I can, little tidbits. And so I told them that they had got very, they weren't holding back with the question. So Attorney Carroll asked her, did you guys use condoms? Why that was important to this, I have no idea, but she asked and I was listening. And Terica said that yes, they did use condoms. And to me, it got backed up later in when I give another piece of the story. So she claimed that they did wear condoms, and it seemed like out of all the craziness he's done, that was the only wise decision he's made, is that he wore condoms with the prostitute stripper. She said afterwards, Terica said afterwards, they ended up taking showers. They took turns taking showers. They didn't take them together. She said after that, they had small talk about just, you know, a little small talk about life a little bit. He's kind of talking about what he got going on with like music and music producing videos, all it, you know, when he was trying to do that rap stuff. I can't even remember if I remember that one song he did on the video, and he described this he described this. I'm gonna redo that video. He literally rapped the plot of this. Crazy. So I don't know if all of you knew that, but yes, Tim has a rap song that lays this out that he put on Welcome to Sweetie Pies. Oh, he's such a narcissist. But anyway, they ended up, you know, small talking. He's telling her what's going on in his life on a very surface level. She then tells him what's going on in her life, and she's telling him that she was trying to open up a boutique in Memphis. And so then she says, it sure be nice. Hold on. It sure be nice if Tim will help me with my boutique. So this was brought up that she literally did ask Tim to help her out with the boutique. Now, I think that what this now Tim planned this out. Like I know he planned this from texting her and having her come over. He planned this out. I don't know if Tim was like, because I don't know how he knew. Well, I guess if she was stripping, he would have knew that, oh, she up in the club this week. So okay, forget that. That's why I like to do the pre-recorders, because my brain wandered to a possible motive in a different way. But anyway, what we got here? Okay, so after so what she said, she was asked about her and Tim, you know, being friends with benefits and how they hook up. When they hook up, they basically had sex when they would meet up. They would talk on the phone here or there. He would check in, all this stuff here or there. But when they got together, when they met up, it was always sex. And she said he would basically kick her off some money every time. She said that he would pay her. I was like, because I don't believe in paying for sex. So, but when I found out Tim paid her, she said about $1,000 every time they met up. Every time she had sex with him, he gave her $1,000. I could never imagine giving somebody $1,000 when sex is free, if you didn't know. But anyway, Tim. Oh, then Tim. So with this small talk, Tim then she's talking about her boutique, and then she's like, "But so what you doing?" And so he then says, he is in town because his mom's house got burglarized. Basically, he's saying it's by his cousin Andre. Thank you so much for the super chat. And so he says he's there in town because he's trying to catch up with his nephew, because the nephew broke into his mom's house and he's trying to get the money or whatever else that he supposedly took so that he doesn't pawn it or whatever. And he didn't say, I'm elaborating, but basically he's like, I'm trying to get to him before he gets rid of everything. And so he then shows Terica the picture of Andre and asked if she had ever seen him in the club, to which she then said, yes, she actually had recently, within like a couple weeks, had exchanged numbers with him. So remember, a little earlier, I just said when she met up, so it wasn't like Tim and Andre was in the club together and that's how he met Terica. He was there on his own and, he met up just happenstance. I'm meeting the same girl that my uncle busts down every few weeks or whatever. So anyway, he shows her the picture. He says, do you know him? She says yes. So then Tim wanted to confirm. So then he basically is like, well, can you help me find him? So in Terica's mind, she is now being asked to help find Andre because Andre, again, this is Tim's version. I'm not saying this. Andre burglarized Miss Robbie's home. And so in her mind, she's just helping, her friend out. So in addition to that, Tim then told her that he would give her $10,000. Now, keep in mind, so now this is making things make a little bit more sense to why when she first was indicted and she gave her version and she was saying she didn't know that Andre would be harmed, blah, blah, blah. There are pieces of this story that start to make it seem true, very true, that in her mind, she didn't know this was going down like this. She had no idea. Also keep in mind, and I'm going to say it, I'm going to offend whoever might know her, but Terica's slow. Terica is slow, and Tim knew that. And Tim took advantage of the fact of that. And we're going to see a little bit more of that as I go through this. How long is this live? Because I'm realizing I am nowhere near. Jesus, it's been 52 minutes already. I'm going to give y'all, I might give y'all 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm not giving no more than that because we got tomorrow as well. But anyway, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. So the $10,000, what we now see is that she had just asked Tim to help her out with opening up a boutique because they were also talking about, he was giving her advice about, business advice. And he was also telling her, because at the time he was living in California, and he was telling her that there's like a fashion district rather in California. And that's a great place, to go for her to get things for her boutique. This is going to make sense later in this story as well. I'm telling y'all, it was, we got so much. We filled in so many gaps with that. So anyway, let me make sure. And y'all, I was scribbling. I was scribbling so much that I started not writing on the lines of the notebook paper. So, okay. So then we talked, they talked about her. So some of this I'm gonna gloss over because we know that the part of this story. So we then know she's communicating with Andre. It was confirmed that the text messages that she was sending to Andre were in fact Tim telling her exactly what to type. She then goes to the La Quinta. Andre tells her where he's at. She then goes to the La Quinta Inn where Andre was. When she went there, and I found this to be odd because I even accused her of having intercourse or sex with Andre the day that his life was taken. Because I assume, hey, if she went to the La Quinta to see him earlier in the day, then obviously, she's a prostitute. That's what they do. Well, come to find out, when she went to the hotel, Andre was actually there with no. I was about to say, wait a minute. As I tell this story about, there were more men there than just Andre. She could have still got in her work, but I don't think that's what happened, and that's not what she admitted to. That just literally popped in my nasty mind. But she said when she got there, it was just Andre and his boys. I don't think she said how many, but for some reason I'm thinking it was only a handful. You know what? No, but I put that video out that they were saying was Andre's last video. Remember, hotel room. We think that might have been the La Quinta. it was what, 2 other guys in there with him, at least at that time. So anyway, she said when she went up there to the room, Andre was he and his friends were basically just smoking in the room and hanging out. And she was asking Andre, like, what you doing later, kind of thing, because Tim had also told her, once he started setting this up, and I just skipped a huge part of it, I just remembered. But as he was setting this up, he told her, make sure you keep in touch with Andre, basically like keep communicating with him throughout the day so we don't lose touch with him, so that, he basically don't start ghosting you. Thank you so much for the super chat. Really, really, really appreciate it. So the part I skipped over, I got to rewind. I apologize. This is why I like to edit stuff. So when Terica agreed that she would help Tim find Andre, that's when he was like, okay, well, now go to the Walgreens, the local Walgreens. I need you to go pick up a burner phone, and I get the one just like this. So he already had his burner phone. He told her to go get one just like it. So then they leave, and she said while she was texting with Andre and he's telling her what to text and all of that, Tim was actually getting ready, as in getting ready to leave. And we find out he's getting ready to leave so he can go to Walgreens. So they go to Walgreens, but they go separately in their separate cars. They meet up at Walgreens. Terica goes in Walgreens, picks up the burner phone, purchases rather, the burner phone. She then comes out and gets in Tim's truck and hands him the phone that she just purchased. She said, then Tim begins to do the, process to get it activated. While Tim was getting it activated, she went back into Walgreens and basically was just shopping. So because Tim gave her that $10,000 in the hotel room. So he paid her in advance. So she's already charged it up like, oh, he already paid me. I'm obligated to do what I just agreed to do. So she's in Walgreens wasting time. She said it took him about 45 minutes to complete that process. So then that's when we remember, thank you so much for the super chat. And I apologize to those of you who might be irritated by me having Tourette's with that, but I do want to recognize those who make that extra layer of support for me, because I appreciate it and benefit from it greatly, especially with what we're doing here. So anyway, so now once he gives her the track phone, the phone, I'm saying track phone, I don't know what brand it was. Once he gives her the phone, he then tells her, now text Andre. Now this is the stuff we knew. Text Andre and tell him you broke your original phone, and this is the only number he needs to be texting you from or communicating with you from. And so, of course, Terica then does that. All the while, because I'm telling you, Terica, and so she not thinking like this is getting way weird. She just keeps going with the stuff. She just step by step, everything gets weirder and weirder and more weird, and she just keeps going with it. And so more weird was this part where he then tells her, also get rid of your current phone number, change your phone number. And I'm like, I wish someone would be like they ask you, it's almost like, oh, you want to come make this run with me? I need a favor. And you go, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm gonna need you to change your phone number. What are you doing? What's up with this? Like, that would be my first question. For one, I'm not changing my phone number for nobody. But for two, what the F we getting into I would require a phone number change, because that sounds very suspicious. So he tells her, change your phone number today. And she's like, okay. So she gets in touch with Andre. She ended up going to La Quinta. So now I'm back to where I had fast forwarded too much. And y'all see I missed the juicy part. So, okay. So she then, Andre, he's in the room. She says that she went up there, saw him with his friends. They were smoking. And that's all she said. And then she said she was only there for I think she said 5 or 10 minutes. She said that at that point, this is Tim said, remember, Tim also said, this is when she texts Tim. Basically, she's at La Quinta. She's like, I got him. I found him. He's that. And the reason Tim wanted her to actually go versus only getting his location and then saying, okay, your job is done. He wanted her to go to verify that he was actually where he told her he was. And so that was the point of her actually going to the hotel and going to the room, etc. She replies to Tim, yes, he definitely here. Tim is like, my boys ain't ready yet. Find out where he going next. So she's like, in the room, Dre, what you gonna be doing today? And so he then tells her he is planning to shoot a music video later in, is it Fairground Park? Correct me if I'm wrong, you STL, you St. Louis people, good people. But the park that's across the street from the Natural Bridge home, I think it's Fairground, but I could be wrong. So he said he was going to shoot a video there, and then he was also going to go into he was going to the studio, like, you know, to do some music and stuff. So she then parts ways with Andre, and Tim is basically, you know, saying keep up with him throughout the day. So what we now know, because we didn't know based on just the text messages alone, is that Terica was communicating with Andre throughout the day. Terica was on the phone with him, phone conversations, caking on the phone with Andre as well. So during one of those sessions, so she did end up going, because they asked her, what did you do next? And she talked about how she went to the Galleria Mall. Also, real quick, again, it's like some major stuff that I don't want to not include in this. When Terica told Andre in one of the text messages, some of you maybe remember, before she came to the La Quinta Hotel, she told Andre, because he's like, where you at, you playing or something like that. And she was like, no, I'm just leaving the steakhouse. The attorney asked her, Carol, said, was that true? And she said, no. Terica said it wasn't true. She said, I actually was with Tim at Walgreens, but I texted Andre that I was leaving a steakhouse to kind of buy the time and explain why I'm taking longer. So, because remember, it took 45 minutes to set up this phone. So fast forward, Terica now has left the La Quinta Inn. She has now she's wasting time because Tim's boys wasn't ready yet. She goes to the Galleria Mall. These are pieces we've heard before. She is now, while at the Galleria Mall, because remember, her assignment was to keep in touch with Tim. And so what she was doing was keep in touch with Andre. And so what she was doing was just like, hey, what you doing? Y'all there yet? You know, all that kind of stuff. And so during one of those conversations, she's telling Andre, I'm at the mall, I'm shopping. She said, man, she got 10 grand. So she's shopping. So she said while she was at the mall, she was shopping around for clothes and stuff, but she also got her phone number changed as she was instructed to. So she got her phone number changed during that time too. Why it ain't clicking to her that she being pulled into something major? I have no idea. Well, so anyway, while she's on the phone talking to Dre about that, he then asked her, basically pick me up a fit too. Like, you know, pick me up something. So she asked him his sizes, you know, she gets his, you know, pants and shirt size or whatever. And she actually buys Andre not just a pair of pants, but she buys him a whole outfit. So this is key. This is going to be key for when we get to the end of all this. So I feel like I'm getting so much into her testimony that I ain't gonna be able to get through all the rest of these notes because, oh my God. So yeah, we might have to do Travell as a separate video. But anyway, she picks up his outfit, and she said that she was in the mall for approximately, what did she say? 4 to 5 hours, 3 to 4 hours, something like that. It was a long time because she was basically waiting around for the boys to be ready, who we know basically was Travell now. And so eventually, now they're ready. She's told to find out where Andre is. Andre says he's on Natural Bridge. She then goes to meet up with Andre. She says when she got there, she couldn't park. Somebody just texted me. I shouldn't have even looked. But she ended up having to park a few houses down because she said it was a bunch of cars parked outside, so she couldn't park directly in front. And so, right, she's a Jezebel. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate you. So she parks down the street. She lets Andre know she's there. Andre comes out the house. He gets in the car. You know, we know these pieces of it. what we don't know is like the details of we're hearing what she's saying actually happened. So she says while they were in the car, she said they talked just for a few short minutes, and they she said that towards the end when Andre was already the judge is not African American, just that I didn't want to forget to say that. But what she said was as he was about, like they were wrapping up, his phone rang at the same time. And so as he was getting out the car, he's also getting on the phone. She says as he's getting out of the car, basically the door swings open, then she gets a text message. He gets out, she notices it says move. She just started, she said I peeled off. And she said I sped off. As she speeds off, she says she hears the gunshots. Now, when you see the crime scene photos, you see where Andre dropped the shopping bag. And it's kind of eerie, like seeing those photos, but it's just like you looking like, he's not thinking that this is his last moments. But it also, to me, was showing how much Terica didn't think that either. And so we do know that Terica, well, I'll give this part. So what her testimony was as she drove away, she then called Tim and said, what the F? And he just then goes into get out of town, leave St. Louis, and don't come back. And so she basically, and he told her, throw your phone, throw the burner phone away as well. And so she did just that. Again, she's still just following these instructions. Now, what I found to be interesting was when she was cross-examined by Tim's attorney, he said, so he talked about, the exchange of money, etc. And so what he was trying to establish was that Terica and Tim were friends with benefits, but they were friends. And so she said, well, since Tim was because he ended up asking her questions, and he asked a couple people who knew Tim, he asked them this question trying to paint a picture. So he said, don't you know Tim to be a kind man? She's like, yes. A generous man? Yes. A polite man? He's given all of these positive, descriptive personality traits that you would think of when you think of a very kind person, a giving person, all of this stuff. And not just financially, like he's just like, a good person. So he's saying this, and she agreed to all of it, and she honored. And then he said, from what you know about Tim, he wouldn't be the kind of guy, the Tim you knew rather, wouldn't be the kind of guy that would commit a murder or whatever. And she said, no, like she's surprised. And so he then also said, Tim is your friend, right? And she says, yes. She said, and you thought that you were, thank you so much for the super chat. You thought that you were just helping a friend, right? And she said, yes. So he said, so would you have helped your friend Tim if he only had given you $200? And she was like, yes. So for her, it wasn't about the money. In her mind, it was kind of related to, I want to open this boutique. Tim is so generous and he's giving. And this is him, it's just by way of, not. So it kind of, for me, and some of you may disagree, but for me, it explained why she wouldn't necessarily question, because a while ago, I used to, in the beginning, was questioning, how does she think she got $10,000 just to find somebody, or have him beat up or whatever? And so the truth is she didn't think that. What she thought was Tim was mostly giving her that large amount of money because she was trying to open up her boutique. And he also wanted her to find his nephew, and it was a token of appreciation included in that money. So that was established. So yeah, I'm gonna skip. So now let's get to, because if I gave y'all everything, we'd be here for about 10, 12 hours. So I'm still flipping through my Terica notes. Where we at? Okay, now we at Travell Hill. That was, what was that, like 6 pages? So Travell Hill was the third witness, and he was brought in. I wrote it here. Yeah. Okay. So Travell was brought in after the afternoon break. And it was under the same circumstances as Terica, but it was different. So Travell was brought in, and I felt like I wrote here that I felt like I would not have recognized Travell on the street if I had saw him. He kind of looked a little different in person, at least initially. Like the more he testified, the more I started to recognize him from all the, from the pictures that we do have. So his appearance, Travell came in a very bright orange prison uniform. Like this, it was so bright, it's like they making sure that if somebody escaped, they gonna see them from like 20 miles away. It was so bright. He had on a short sleeve, the top of it was short sleeve, and he also had, well, I have here dingy whitish long sleeve shirt. So t-shirt. So kind of like Terica, but I couldn't tell if his was like an ivory color or if it was just dingy white or if it was supposed to be white. But y'all see, I strained to see right here. So it could have been my eyes, but it looked dingy. What else I have here for him? Oh, he also had on, and I think that's why it was hard for me to recognize him in the beginning, but he also had on a orange coordinating, because it's late, my vocabulary, but a coordinating red face mask over his face when he came in. Now, what I noticed was interesting about his entrance was that he wasn't handcuffed or shackled. He came in swinging on the bars, going up the ramp to the witness stand. Kind of, I mean, it wasn't dramatic, but it was like him kind of putting his weight on it and kind of swinging up a little bit, like he having fun. So he then sits there, and again, like Terica, we're on break. Like we haven't resumed yet, so people are conversing, standing up, not having fun, but you know what I'm saying, conversing, mingling, and all of that. And so he's sitting there for minutes. I don't know, maybe 3 to 5 minutes, maybe, I'm not sure. He was sitting there, and what I noticed the difference with him compared to, Terica, you could see like it hit her. It was impactful. It meant something to her that she was in a situation like almost like I got caught up in some BS. And so it was kind of hit her. And I think that's why she started crying. Like, now I'm in this space and I'm seeing the family and I'm seeing this, and Tim and all of that. So, and ain't no telling, like I'm sure. I was going to say, ain't no telling when she's seen Tim or the last time, but she definitely hasn't seen him in the last, 2 years? Did she get arrested in 2022? Or was it 2021? I can't remember now. But anyway, what I have here. Oh, so while he was sitting there, he was just looking around the courtroom. It wasn't no shame in his game. There was no looking down. He was like, I'm here. And his position was like, not like this, but like just laid back, just laid back. And he's just looking around, catching eye contact. I don't care kind of thing. He wasn't looking so much. He did look at the Griggs family in their area, but I'm not saying like he was mean mugging them, but he just, it was no shame, like no. And I'm just looking here. I literally I wrote in bold in capital letters with a star, no shame. Like you didn't sense it at all. So, and I mentioned his posture, I put like, just seemed unbothered, like, so. Oh, and I also put that Tim never appeared to look up. Like I never saw Tim actually looking up when Travell was walked in or when Travell was just sitting there before we got started. He never looked up. Now I'm going to give you, here comes a little tea. So something major happened. So I could tell that Travell testifying meant something to Tim. I ain't seen nothing from Tim that shows that he even know where he at. All these 3 days until today, and I'm gonna let you know in a minute what that was. So yeah, he never appeared to look in Travell's direction. But what I also noticed, again, Travell, no shame, he kind of lifted himself up a little bit because the judge's stand was right next to him, so he didn't have a good perspective of where the angle where Tim was. He couldn't just see Tim easily. So he kind of lifted himself up real quick, but he lifted himself up to go to try to see Tim. So again, he was on a field trip. So let's see. So many notes, y'all. Oh my God, my eyes and my scribble. Where we at? Where we at? Oh, okay. I should have turned the page. That's where we at. So Travell Anthony. So we get into the testimony. So we got the government. He's giving his testimony. He's testifying rather. And so found out Travell is 31 years old. I'm sorry. And I'm pronouncing his name wrong because the point is where I started phonetically spelling it. So I quit saying it wrong. His name is Travell Anthony Hill. So he said it out his own mouth that is Travell, not Travell. Travell, he was arrested in November 2020. Most of us know that. What I also noticed, I got so many critical notes about him, but what I noticed about him was he also had a bit of a smirk when he said his name. He's like, Travell Anthony Hill, like, dude, do you know why you're here? So I wrote here, you can tell that Travell was not an educated man. You can just tell. And so he was asked about his most recent drug arrest and what he was charged for, etc. We kind of know about that. I'm not going to rehash that. And so Travell actually admitted that his occupation was a drug dealer. He said, I sold drugs. That was my job. And he was then asked to identify Tim, to which he stated he's over there because they asked them to describe what the person had on and where they are in the courtroom. So he said that Tim had a black suit on. Did I say what Tim had on today? I can't even remember. He had on a black suit if I didn't say it. Black suit and a turtleneck. I think he did a repeat. I might not have mentioned this. I think he did a repeat of the turtleneck from Monday. I don't think he had two black turtlenecks, especially being in prison. So he had on a complete black suit today and the black turtleneck. So that's what he had on. If I forgot to tell y'all that, sorry. There you go. So he also admitted to that the drugs that he used were ecstasy and Molly. And he then was asked to describe the difference between the two, and he said something. I don't remember what he said. I didn't write the notes, and I don't do drugs and don't care about drugs, so I didn't need to know. Then Travell was asked about white boy Chris. And then he was also asked if what Tim called him or something. Yeah, he was asked, what does Tim call you? And he was like, I don't know. You got to ask him. Like, what? So but then he was asked, well, what do you call Tim? And he said, I call Tim Unc, as an uncle, for those of you who ain't down with the lingo. He calls him Unc as an uncle. And he said, basically, he calls him that as a sign of respect. So the phone that we see in those photos and the evidence that's been out there for, I think some YouTubers have done videos on the text message exchange. Tim's phone that has Travell's phone number on it, and it says Travell nephew. That number that you saw there was Travell's trap phone. That phone was purely for his drug sales. So he said that was his drug phone prior to getting arrested and stuff. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm belching now. So this was interesting. So Travell said that the first time he had heard anything about this murder plan was when he ended up meeting up, or he said white boy Chris walked up to him and he said, and I quote, Tim says you're charging too much to murder Andre. And Travell says he told white boy Chris then, I ain't never talked to Tim about murdering anyone. So I think that was a mind game. And I say that because one or two things to me. This is all opinion based, this piece here. I think either Travell was so cracked out and drugged out that he didn't remember the previous conversation with Tim, or white boy Chris was manipulating him because he knew he was drugged out to make him think that he's made this deal with him. One or the other. That was not clarified. They kind of just left it hanging. And I was like, can we get some clarity? But what I also noticed, and I think I have it in my note, I know I have it in my notes somewhere, where I talk about Travell's brain has been, remember that for those of you who, you know, what, 40, 30 something and up, 38 and up, you probably remember the "This Is Your Brain" on drugs, and they dropped fried an egg. That's Travell's brain. So we could tell that Travell doesn't, you know, he's burned some brain cells. So Travell could not remember any dates. He was just like, don't even ask me about dates. Like every time they was like, and so that happened on, you know, March 16th, this and that. He's like, I have no idea. He was like, you asking me stuff about dates, I'm not going to be able to answer it. So what I also gathered from that, though, that hit me, you know, a little later in his testimony was also when you think about the life of a drug dealer, they ain't really got no schedules, not fully. Like they ain't got business meetings necessarily. Like on the 23rd, I got a Zoom meeting kind of thing. Things that make some of us kind of keep in tune with dates. They don't necessarily have that, in my opinion. So that's why I was thinking like, well, in part it could be because of his lifestyle. He's a street corner hustler or pharmacist. I mean, they kind of don't live by schedules. I mean, they do, but they don't, you know, because they do be out there certain times of the day. But anyway, so he says, then days later, this is Travell saying that. He says, days later, Tim pulled up and Travell got in Tim's truck. Tim then asked Travell if he had talked with white boy Chris. And then the next thing you know, they never talked about it. So this was something that Travell said. He's literally said, quote, I never talked to Tim about murdering Andre. Literally, it was orchestrated to utilize Travell without Tim ever saying the words of I need you to do this. It was orchestrated by utilizing other people to influence him to do it, if that makes sense. The words were said, but never by Tim. I mean, it's sinister. It's very sinister. And like, again, like I mentioned, the Terica Ellis part of it, for me, as I was watching it, I felt sorry for really the players in it, because what you could start to see play out in court as people are giving these detailed information that we haven't had, is that he was literally puppet stringing everyone throughout this, all the people involved throughout this whole thing. And like the opening statement from the government said, no one person knew the entire plan but Tim. Tim utilized everyone and manipulated most of them. Well, he manipulated everyone, but you know, people are like Travell knew he was murdering someone. Okay, so the next piece is, and I've decided in this moment, or as I've been reading, I'm just going to go over Travell's testimony. There were some the other people, but I don't have it in me to get through the rest of those. So we're going to end our live with his testimony, and then I'll explain where we left off and what's happening tomorrow. And then on Saturday, maybe we'll do a little longer live. Maybe I'll give some other stuff, and of course the pre-recorded video. So just so you know, because it's I can't even see. We are an hour and 24 minutes into this. And I know some of y'all tired of hearing me talk. So what we got? First time. Okay. So I'm down here. Never talked about murder. Okay. So then Travell walks us through the night that he actually took the life of Andre. We ended up seeing in evidence an actual photo of the Natural Bridge home. We saw the picture of that, and then we kind of saw like from the corner and the houses next to it. I think it's two or three houses now. I want to say it's maybe just two houses, then the actual house that Andre was there for the studio. So Travell is looking at that on his monitor at the witness stand, and it was touch screen where he could actually draw on it. And so he was then asked to point out exactly where he was standing. And from the corner, he was standing a little further in. Now, I'm going to show that with you guys in a pre-recorded video. I'm going to keep something to myself. So he showed us where he was standing. He then said, you know, he described what we know, basically what was in his plea agreement, I want to say, is where he described his side of what happened. So pretty much, you know, repeated that stuff. Andre comes out, Andre gets in the car, he sees Andre. He never talked about, now what he didn't say, but again, brain, what he didn't say at all was anything about him stopping Andre on Andre's way out, asking him about marijuana. That never got mentioned, wasn't asked. They didn't have him walk the story back to, if he forgot it, just never, he never said it. Never said it in court today. So he just described Andre walking to the car. Andre got out of the car. And then he says, as Andre was going up, he said going up the stairs is when he shot him. And he said he shot him twice. Now, Travell claims, now this was an interesting tidbit. When he was asked why did he select the type of gun that he selected, he said that he selected it because he didn't really want anything to happen to Andre. Like, he wasn't really trying to really take him out. He, I guess, was trying to injure him, so to speak. But they was like, but you shot him multiple times, right? He's like, yeah. It's like, what? It's not adding up. And quite a few things he said wasn't adding up to me. That's the other part of this. I'm going to mention that too. So I can go into detail because we're going to end our live with this story, or with this part of the testifying. Also they talked about Travell when he got the money, and I don't know how, somehow I missed this. I didn't start hearing this part until the court hearing, but Travell took the money home. So after he left the crime scene, he said that he went to a club. Like, he obviously, you know, he was so emotional, he needed to dance it out. So he went to a club. I'm sorry if you're confused, because I'm confused too. It's still coming together. I wish I knew what part you meant that for. But anyway, he went to a club, and then he said he went home. He actually took a photo of the money, and he and his girlfriend like took a photo of the money, and how they were able to prove it was the same money that Tim had given his friend was because it still had the same rubber bands on it. See, that guy testified. We'll talk about that Saturday, but yeah, that guy, DJ, is who he gave the money to. DJ also took a photo. So they were, it's kind of like, although people didn't fully know what was happening, some people felt something was wrong. And even the DJ guy who testified later said that he just felt something wasn't right with what Tim was asking him to do. So he took a picture of the money. And so later it's in evidence now. So God works in mysterious ways. I talked about the drugs getting the best of him. So there was some inconsistency. Yeah, I'm gonna jump forward. So I have here highlighted, y'all can't see this, but I have highlighted here Travell's inconsistencies. Because he was contradicting himself with his testimony. And I was like, dude, what are you doing up there? So one of them was, he was asked if he had ever received drugs from white boy Chris. Well, first he was asked, was white boy Chris, I think he was asked, was he a drug dealer or has he gotten drugs from him? Something like that. Travell's response was, do I have to answer that? And when they basically said yes, he was like, no. And it's like, dude, if the answer was no, you would have said that in the beginning. You wouldn't have been like, do I have to answer that? Yeah. So that instantly was like, okay, you up that line. This is a problem. So he was then also asked about, because he was asked that, but then he was asked, has white boy Chris ever given him cocaine at any point? He then said yes. That's a contradiction to you saying that you ain't got no drugs from Chris. Like, and yeah, craziness. So, so then during his cross-examination, now these are just the inconsistencies. So these happen randomly through both. So he also was asked if he if when he by Tim's attorney, he was asked, does Molly, being on Molly, make you trigger happy? Because they're saying that Travell, and he admitted himself, was on Molly all day. Like he said he did Molly every day, all day. So he was basically like, I was never not high. And so Tim's attorney said, okay, and so Molly makes you trigger happy, right? And Travell was like, what? And he's like, no, I ain't shooting nobody. It's like, dude, you here for shooting somebody multiple times. It was stuff like that he was saying. It was just showing that that he wasn't always telling the truth. What else I got? What I also noticed was he was asked, Travell was asked a question about whether or not he was a part of the Crips, and he denied being in the Crips gang. He did say that he was in some gang. It's somewhere in my notes, but he was in some little local gang. I think it's Crips and Posse, or no, Grips and Posse or something. But what was interesting to me was there were some young ladies in front of me, and they were like, what? Like when he said he wasn't a part of a gang, and they were reacting as if, oh, we already know you lying. Like we know that for a fact. And these women, you could tell they were professionals. Well, I later found out that they were actually FBI agents. So these ladies, I think, had some, a part in the task force piece of it, research or whatever. So they know his history. And so they were even reacting to some of his lie-mony, not testimony, but lie-mony. So that's the bulk of, that's an overview of Travell, of Terica. Where are we? Oh, we're at an hour and 32 minutes. So I think that's a good place for me to I'll give the overview of what happened after that. So witness number 4 of the day was Daryl Howard. This was who goes by AKA DJ Beats. And so this was Tim's friend who Tim had go get the money from, had go take Travell the $5,000 that he got paid for, taking the life of Andre. I'll give this story real quick, like overview. So on the same day that Tim had met up with Terica at the Chase Plaza, they do. He's now taking her to Walgreens, set up the phone, sent her on her merry way, and to handle her assignment. Now he's working on the next phase of this. So now he's hooked up with, I'm just calling him DJ Beats. He hooks up with DJ Beats. DJ Beats was working with Tim on his music at the time. He was doing production, he said, on Tim's video, rap video, which he said was supposed to premiere on BET like later that week or something. And so in his mind, when Tim was in town, Tim asked him to come over, meet me at the Chase. I'm at the Chase Plaza. Come over here. We're going to talk business. He talks with Tim. They talk about the video. They handling their real business. Now, when he gets ready to leave, Tim is like, no, he does leave. He leaves. Tim then hits him up a short while after and says, hey, I left $5,000 at the Chase Plaza. Like, basically, I don't know. And some people with the testimony weren't helping us really fully understand the nuances. But what it appeared was that Tim acted as if maybe he forgot the money at the Chase Plaza. Like, oh man, I left $5,000 in the room at the Chase Plaza. But he was also telling DJ Beats, like, you can actually have the room. Like, maybe I got to leave early. Again, they didn't give these sort of details of me trying to fill in the gaps of what they didn't say. But anyway, DJ Beats ends up going to the Chase Plaza Hotel. he took his, at the time, who was his girlfriend. They go to the room. He's thinking, I'm gonna collect this 5,000, but I'm actually gonna stay here as well. Like, I'm gonna use up the rest of the time that Tim has already paid for. Now, this DJ Beats guy is a good friend of Tim, who had traveled with him and all of that. And Travell knew of him as well, because I think they made it on a trip or two together or something. So he goes to the room. His girlfriend at the time was not filling the room. And again, this is where the pieces all ties together. He says she wasn't filling the room because when they went in the bedroom, there were used condoms and stuff all over the floor. And so she was like, I'm not staying here. And so he says that made him just get the money that Tim wanted him. He's like, the money was in a drawer in the bedroom. He got the money, and he said it was in like a black bag or something. He and his girlfriend then just left. So he said they were there less than 10 minutes. He then said when he grabbed the money, he hit up Tim, and he's like, I got the money. What you want me to do with it? Like, where you want me to meet you, or kind of thing, or bring it, or all of that. And Tim was like, just hold on to it for a minute. I'll get with you. Now, for DJ Beats, it wasn't completely unusual for Tim to give him cash and have him do stuff with it or hold it and blah, 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 because Tim's attorney in the cross exam said, isn't it true that Tim also at that time had you holding $20,000 for him? I don't know why you got to hold him. Like, where you heard of banks? So that was probably for some other scheme. So he said, yeah, like Tim had also given me the 20,000. However, he said it wasn't often that Tim kind of gave him money like that, but he had given him 20,000, and he had it in that moment. He said, however, okay, so he's like, okay, Tim tells him to hold the money. He's like, okay, I guess I'm adding this to the 20 grand I'm already holding for whatever else you got going on. He says then, and I forget the timeline, but it was a day or two or a couple days or whatever it was. Tim then hits up DJ Beats and says, that $5 grand I gave you, do me a favor, take it to my little nephew, meaning my little nephew, Loco. So DJ Beats did know, again, I told you, like, they've had some interaction. He knew Travell as Loco. So he told him, like, you go to he's in a Peabody public housing or whatever. And DJ Beats says, to him, it seemed strange. He didn't know what was happening, but he's like, I need to just do this and get this done with, but something's wrong. So because he had his intuition, and we got to all start trusting our intuition and our gut feelings, because I've had some recent situations where I'm like, I got to trust my gut. I've got to trust my gut. And now I have started really trusting it. But anyway, he trusted his gut in the sense of, he said something was wrong. So he was like, let me take a picture of this $5,000. So while he was still in the truck, he said he took his brother with him for like protection, because now he's going to the projects to have money and all this stuff, make exchanges. And so he took a picture of the 5,000. He said he made his way to the Peabody public housing, or whatever they call it here. And he ended up, he said he was there less than 1 or 2 minutes. Said he met up with Travell, handed him the money, and basically just drove off. So that was it. He, as in DJ Beats, didn't know nothing about nothing. However, this was a piece he said, and I'm doing this without my notes. I feel like my brain kicked in for a second. Man, this was deep. So he was also asked if he knew Andre. He said he did not know Andre. He, knew of Andre, but didn't know him at all. And so he said when he was asked, did he know about Andre's murder? And he said, yes, I did know about Andre's murder. And he said, when Andre got murdered, when the next time he saw Tim, he said in person, he was like, man, sorry for your condolences. I mean, sorry for you. Sorry for your loss. And Tim's response was, fuck him. He's like, man, I don't care. Fuck him. There was gasping in the courtroom, especially from the Griggs. And I was like, It was the Griggs family. They take up 2 rows, the FBI agents right in front of me, and then me. And so I'm seeing all of it. And that was deep. So I think, okay, so now I'm giving you where we're at. So there was a couple other witnesses. We had the special agent Root, who was the digital evidence extraction specialist, the person who basically took all the photos of the various text messages from the various people. Then we had I can't remember. I didn't write Applebaum. So there was another witness number 6, Applebaum. We'll talk about that in the video, in a pre-recorded. There was also some conversation about Andre's financial state, because, Tim claimed that in one of those policies that he made $100,000. We actually got to find out exactly how much money Andre made. I'll save that for a video and a pre-recorded. But we found out exactly how much he made from Welcome to Sweetie Pies and everything. So I think that brings me to my closing. Let's see. Okay, so yes, brings me to my closing. So we get through all of that, and so at the end, I think we left at 4. I can't remember now, but again, I had no watch. But somewhere around 4-ish, you and those of you in the VIP text community, again, hitting that up, promoting it, where I give little updates throughout the day of little tidbits, and I tell some of the juicy stuff that I don't put on here. Anyway, whatever time I text them is what time we got out. Like within 10 minutes of getting out, I had to text the group. So the Judge Ross said that we were leaving a little earlier because they did a sidebar after that last witness. And then Judge Ross then spoke to us as the everyone in the courtroom and said that there were no more witnesses scheduled for the day. So that meant that we would get out early. He then also says that we are actually ahead of schedule. So remember, we were supposed to potentially be done next Friday. Well, now we're ahead of schedule. Now, when we say ahead of schedule, he didn't get specific, and I don't work for the courts, so I can't give you that. Don't ask me, well, what that mean? How many days we are we ahead? I have no idea. But I do know that he said that we are ahead. So I'm thinking at least a day and a half or so. He said, oh, and also another big tidbit, the government prosecution plans to rest tomorrow. So they're going to bring it to a close tomorrow. So what that means is, guess who has to testify? I wish I was up on these comments and had this stuff working for my moderators in the background, because I want to see y'all. I wanted to make y'all guess, but I can't go through all that. But so yes, that means that Miss Robbie will be testifying tomorrow, God willing, for sure. Now, that was another part of my conversation I forgot to mention when I talked to one of the Montgomery family members that we know. They said that it's being painted as if Ms. Robbie doesn't care. She's not there because she doesn't care, and all these other things. And there's like more to it. And the reason she hasn't spoke up is because she don't care. Ms. Robbie didn't speak up, and I've said it in other videos. She didn't speak up because she could not. She was a witness to this federal case. So what does she look like giving us our feels and our jollies, sharing stuff? She can't talk. She's a federal witness. And so, yeah, so she's going to be testifying. And that was what was explained by the family member, where they said, she's being painted out like in a bad way, but she can't talk. And the reason why she wasn't in court thus far is because a witness cannot be in the courtroom until at least after they testify, because their testimony can't be influenced by what's happening or new information they may get by listening to other people's testimony. So that's that with that. Yeah, so have grace, like I said yesterday. Let's see. Okay, so also Judge Ross is asking both sides to submit an updated jury instruction by the end of day tomorrow. So he's like, well, we're getting kind of close to wrapping this up. So if you guys can, get that done, get that to me tomorrow evening so that, you know, we're not then delayed because we don't have the jury instructions when we wrap this up. There was also there was some commotion at the end between both sides where about the expert witness that Tim's attorney wants to call when he has the opportunity, and I think it's supposed to happen tomorrow. But this expert witness is supposed to be testifying to how it is totally normal for people to get life insurance policies on people who are not immediate family members. How he's supposed to do that, I don't know. And that was part of the government's argument, is like, how are he gonna prove that? When they said when we found out about this witness, this expert witness, it was submitted as a one sentence explanation, which is problem number one to them. And they're like, it's nothing talking about what evidence, what he's supposed to be trying to prove, none of that. So they can't really quite even cross-examine or argue because they don't really know what's happening. And it'll be kind of, pulling the wool over their eyes. Like it'll be a last minute, like, oh, this is what he's trying to do. And then that might mean they're not prepared. So they were pushing back on that, back and forth. They got into a little tussle, a verbal, professional tussle, but it was a little tussle there. So, and there was a lot of back and forth. So that probably took a little 3 to 5 minutes of the end of the hearing. And what Judge Ross decided to do, because I think he was it almost felt like he had already rejected it, but Tim's attorney was like really pushing. And Tim's attorney was whining because he was like, well, I don't understand. Well, it's not fair because they were able to show this, and now we're trying to show something similar, and we can't. And it's just not fair that they're doing, like that kind of stuff. And he didn't sound like he didn't sound like a doof for anything. But so what Judge Ross decided to do, because I think he was like, let me not hurt your feelings no more today. He said that he wanted to just process it overnight, and so tomorrow morning we'll find out if this expert witness will actually be able to testify about how people just randomly can get life insurance policies on people, which is just supposed to, again, benefit of the doubt, prove that it's not unusual. What Tim did, is not unusual. Okay, so I'm almost, at the 2-hour mark. Man, I can't wait till we can get these comment situations together. So I apologize to all of you who I'm not able to like really recognize. Thank you guys who have, we got a couple of super chats I was about to miss. Thank you so much for your super chats. I really, 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 really appreciate you. Here's another one. So I want to recognize the super chats, and then we're going to get out of here. Also, again, if you haven't joined the VIP text community, the number's scrolling across the screen. If you have any questions that you, want me to answer or something like that, that would be a great place to put it. We are growing like crazy, and I'm thankful for it. And I thank all of you new subscriber family members, new friends. But what that means is then it gets harder for me to see every comment and recognize every person. So it's kind of, if you really want me to see something, the best way is going to be the VIP text community. And if you don't care if I really see it or not, you can, comment below and all of that. But like the video no matter what, because that helps us grow. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate you, Miss V. And yeah, I guess with that, thank you so much for the super chat. Yeah, it's a lot of y'all in here, and I appreciate y'all. We're like at 3,079 on my side, at least. And I think this would be my largest ever live stream. So I thank you guys. Thank you so much for the super chat. And thank you to all of you who sent me cash apps as well. I noticed yesterday, and my other phone that has that account on it, I don't have the charger with me, so I've like had it powered down most of the time because I don't want it to go completely dead. And so thank you. Like I did see them. I sent you hearts, and I truly am grateful for that. Thank you so much for the super chat, Janice. But with that, for any other super chats that are in here that I'm not seeing, thank you in advance. I greatly appreciate it. And I think with that, I'm gonna get some rest. I'm gonna hope because I only got 4 hours of sleep last night. But I'm gonna try to get me hopefully some DoorDash over here or something. And then yeah, I'm gonna call it a night. And then I will see you guys. Remember, for those of you who may not have caught the very beginning of this, I will see you guys on Saturday morning with like a full live, like similar to this, when I'm back in Chicago. Tomorrow I'll be traveling during these, well, earlier than this, but I won't be settled. Like I may not even be home. I'm not sure. So anyway, we're not going to try to pull that off tomorrow. I got to check out of this place, this Airbnb. So yeah, it's a whole thing. So, but what I will be doing is still sending updates during the breaks to the VIP text community. And I will also possibly, if I can, go live for a bit, but it'll be like off my cell phone. And I'll just give you guys like a quick little update. I might be in my car. I might be, sitting in the park somewhere. I'll figure that out. So that's a maybe. That's a big maybe. I want to do it, but, depends on a lot of things. So with that, thank you so much to my moderators who you guys unfortunately did not get to see in action tonight. Kim and JSO Extra. Oh, also, don't forget, JSO Extra has a YouTube channel that's called Today's Celebrity News. I hope that's right. Today's Celebrity News. And she also covers the Sweetie Pie's case, and she's really thorough. So her approach to me is, very much more analytical in my opinion than mine. Like I'm saying it in a great way. Like, so definitely check it out because it's going to be a different perspective. And she's definitely, although we saw the same thing, it's a different perspective in a way that, us creators present is different. So you'll still get new nuggets from her as well. So definitely go over to Today's Celebrity News, aka JSO Extra, and give her a subscribe. So with that, until next time, until our next live or I upload the next video, make sure to take care and be blessed. Peace.